Welcome to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere with your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome back to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere. This is Chris Parker, and I'm having a conversation with Carlos Sentís, who is the founder and CEO of the World, I'm going to call it Innovation Alliance for Social Impact. And looking at his profile and following him a bit on social media, this is an extremely busy man, enabling organizations all over the place make a more meaningful and positive impact. So, Carlos, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and having a conversation. I'm really looking forward to discovering more about each other. Can you kick us off with, sharing with us what is it you do and why do you do what you do?
Well, thank you so much, Chris. It's a great pleasure to be here with you and with your audience. I am excited to have this conversation, especially because I also know a little bit about your profile, and there's a lot of things that we share. And I will let everybody know a little bit about WIA and about myself, and especially why do I do what I do, right? So I'm a social entrepreneur and a consultant. I've been working for many companies and institutions in communication, innovation, international relations for many years, more than 12 years already. And I've been doing that because I wanted to be prepared to launch a global social impact initiative. So what I've been doing was trying to get ready with the sort of knowledge and experience, but also with the network and trying to grow my influence to get to a situation where what we do and what we say could be meaningful and could generate a positive, measurable impact. So after all these years, now we are launching this initiative. We have more than 500 members in 140 different countries. And what we do is try to bring together companies, institutions, and remarkable individuals that want to make the world better in a practical way by finding and applying specific scalable solutions for problems in healthcare, environment, poverty, human rights, and education. We help businesses and organizations in all sectors to maximize their positive impact in a way that is also beneficial for all their stakeholders. What we try to do is maximize impact that is profitable or that is beneficial to fulfill the mission of the organization. That could be public and private. And what we are going to be doing in the coming years, and this is the project of my life, so I'm going to spend the entire rest of my career working on this, is launch global centralized projects where we do public-private social collaboration, which is the collaboration not only between the public and the private sector, but also allowing individuals to be a part of the solution, allowing citizens, users, clients, allowing members. It doesn't matter what type of role the person has. Everybody has skills and resources, and many times the willingness to solve some of the world's biggest problems, some of the SDG problems. But many times we don't know what we can do, we don't know how to do it, or we don't have the right incentives to do so. So that is the approach. And the project that we're going to start with is going to be focused on education. It's called the New Education Project, and it's set to be the world's largest education innovation initiative and a world's an international capacitation campaign for skilling, and especially for upskilling people that will probably face the consequences of the converging crisis that we're going to go through, but also the fact that more than 50% of the jobs are going to change in the next years due to automation and technological disruption. So the idea behind it is that not only we improve education, but also that we provide practical skills capacitation to as many people as we can to help them deal with the problems of the future.
We will get into that education program, but before we get into that, I'm still curious, what is the why behind the why? So yourself, you seem to have had a long-term vision over the last years of your experience, putting things in place in order to make this happen. What was it that started you down this path and has kept you motivated?
Well, thank you. That's a very important question. And I guess that the purpose is what drives us all. And if you don't have a clear vision of where you're trying to go, it's very difficult to actually get nowhere, right? So I'm incredibly grateful for the life that I have had and the life that I have. I'm a very, very lucky person. I grew up in a beautiful environment, safe environment. My parents were incredible, and I have just been very, very lucky. And there's more than 1 billion people that live in extreme poverty. There's still more than 40 wars being fought. There's many people that have to struggle with health conditions in very early stages of their lives. There's just simply so many things that can go wrong in a person's life. And I happen to be incredibly grateful for the fact that I am healthy, the family, the surroundings. And I have always tried to see what should my role be in this world that we live in, and knowing that our lives are finite and that it's difficult sometimes to find meaning, and that it's always very complicated, because if you make an impact, maybe you change something and something can go wrong, and it's very, very easy to get very cynic about life and just say, whatever, it doesn't matter, let's just live our lives, be happy, and just enjoy our time. But what I realized was that I had the capacity, at least the potential, of helping others. And then I thought that was my responsibility. I had to assume the fact that because I can help others, or I have ideas that could help others, then if I don't do it, I'm going to feel that I am betraying my responsibility. So what I did was I started with gratitude, basically just realizing how lucky I was. I started trying to become a better son, starting to try to become a better friend, and try to become better in all aspects. And of course, I am very, very far away from being perfect, but God knows how would I be if I was not trying to improve. And it was a realization that I had, I think, when I was 17 years old. And from that moment on, my vision has always been, and my motivation has always been, try to improve myself as much as possible, so I'm in a better position to improve the world. And even if I don't change much, at least I'm never going to regret not having tried.
I love the mission, and I'm also really, there's a word you said along the way there called, you said that you would betray, almost like you would betray your values if you didn't work to improve and make a positive impact. Also improve and make an impact at scale. So what that means there's some sort of values or beliefs that you said maybe started when you were 17 or something. So for me, betrayal is a very powerful word. So what, do you know how that happened, or where those values came from that were so inspirational? And the reason I'm asking is I believe if more people had the motivation that you had, even myself, then we would probably be better off. And so, where does this engine come from? Where does this energy come from?
Well, thank you very much. And I think that basically, almost everyone has the willingness or the desire. And in fact, I think it's a biological imperative. Not only we do need to be somehow selfish to take care of ourselves, to not be eaten by lions, but also in order to survive and to evolve, we have needed the community. So that feeling of realization when you're feeling happy because you help others, well, that is something that comes from evolution. So I think that we need both. And from the very beginning, we need to recognize that as humans, we want to serve others. Is that sometimes we experience difficult things, or we may be in environments that don't encourage that. And of course, there's people that are more selfish than others. But the fact of the matter is that most of us do want to do something. And it's just that we have not been taught how to do it or why we should be doing it. And another problem that we have is that we all need to find some prosperity in our lives because we need to eat and we live in an economic planet. And we have been taught that or you make money and you're selfish and evil, or you help others and you just give away money and you're great, but you're just not super productive. And the problem is that there's a huge space in between of what everyone can do that could be profitable, that could help you grow as an individual or as a company and allow you to find economic prosperity. But at the same time, you can maximize the way you're helping others. So what I'm trying to say here is that, first of all, I think all of us have this, but it depends a little bit on how you develop that and how you execute on that, the level at which you're going to get in that regard. In my case, it definitely comes from my father. My father is my biggest inspiration. He was my best friend, my partner, my mentor, and unfortunately he passed away 3 years ago because of cancer. But he will always be the biggest inspiration. He was such a kind, generous, humble, intelligent, extraordinary person. He had an organization with 2,000 people. He would still talk to every single employee. He would always open the door. He would always take blame for all the problems and would always give credit for every single success. He was a person that would never, ever talk badly to anyone. He would tell me that, you're no more than the others, nor you are less than anybody else. And he would talk to a prime minister, a president of a company, just the same way to the janitor or to whoever it was in the street. And that has been, of course, the reference. For me, it has never been a question, what is good or what is bad. It was very clear. If I do what my father does, at least I'm going to go in the right direction. And so I one of the things that I feel so lucky is because of precisely having such a good example. A lot of people don't have that. And I am sad that is not the case for everyone. And what I've tried to do is try to just follow his path, try to be the best I can be. I can't be perfect, but if I try to go towards a better version of myself and I try to avoid the bad things that all humans are capable of, then I'm probably going to be able to do more and to have a better life.
I'm sorry to hear about your loss. First, it sounds like he was an amazing man, and extremely fortunate for you to have that kind of guide and mentor. And it feels like a little bit like you're able to channel some of those values and principles through your work and sort of maybe bring some of that benefit to others. For myself, I early on in Corona, so this is like March last year or so, I was triggered by some sort of compulsion or need to help. And I think this is, to go back to your point, that this is maybe inherent within us as people.
Yes.
And maybe sometimes it's beaten out of people, or they just forget it, or stress in life overcome it. But I was thinking, okay, well, how can I, what can I do? And that was actually an inspiration for me to kick off Ebullient with its simplicity scan and the podcast, to say, well, what I know how to do is see patterns and in organizations, and I can somehow see what things won't work and will create waste and won't create joy and meaning in the workplace. And so is there a way that I can package that? And this is what I've been striving to do imperfectly over the last year. And it's, it's a combination of giving back and connecting and learning, and then also having conversations with people that just speaking with so many people that are trying to make the world better in their own little way is so inspiring for me. So, so thank you for sharing that sort of background. And now there's this, I can't call it a chapter because you said it will be the rest of your career. So this book that is opening, called the World Innovation Alliance for Social Impact, that people can find at WIA.world. What's the ambition with that? Because you mentioned that there's a number of areas of focus. What is the measurable impact at the end of your career that you'd love to look back and say that you have achieved or accomplished with that movement?
Well, thank you so much for the question. And it is indeed the most important question for us, at least. And I think that for most of us, it should be the way to begin our careers, by thinking, what do I want to have accomplished, or what would I regret not having accomplished at the end of my days? Mm-hmm. I'm very clear about it. I just cannot put a number, but I can say that I want to help as many people as possible. And I want to solve or help solving some of the world's biggest problems, or at least I want to allow and empower people and organizations to create the biggest possible impact that they can with their activity. So in order to put it into perspective, there's different fields that we have chosen because we believe are the ones that affect the most negatively to the largest amount of people. So we want to tackle those, and of course we cannot do anything alone, and I am just a very, very, very small part of it. But I can do one thing, which is I can try to connect the dots. I can try to help people better leverage their resources. I can try to allow for collaboration between the public and the private sectors. I can allow for the empowerment of millions of people. And we have discovered that there are many ways to solve the problems that we have. There's, in fact, thousands of solutions out there. Sorry. So we have already compiled hundreds of solutions. We are designing models that can maximize impact. We are finding best practices that anyone can use. And what we're doing in order to really scale that is creating a technology startup that's called Improve OS. So what we're creating is the operating system to improve yourself and improve the world. And the whole mission that we have is that we want to break down big problems into smaller tasks, allow anyone to participate in the solution in exchange of incentives that are valuable for them. So again, I want to lift millions of people out of poverty. And I know that there are specific ways that that can happen. I know that if you use, for example, crowdsourcing, or if you use e-services, you can help people to sell services online from a deprived area. And if that service is delivered, for example, in Africa, there's 5 million people that are living just because they are selling services online to a different country. So that is something that could scale. And there's 4 billion people that are going to jump to the internet in the next years. And it's going to happen way, way faster than what people know, right? So the idea is that through these kind of models where, you have a solution that could be implemented at scale, and using the best resources of different partners, then these projects, these initiatives, or these solutions can be implemented at scale. So when there's a solution existing already, what we do is we try to find it, we try to curate the best ways to do it, and we try to scale it and distribute it, right? So you have these policy reform, these best practice for organizations, and then we go and talk to as many organizations as possible. So if we do it, we're a very small organization still. But we have partners like, for example, there's an OTA, which is an online travel agency that has more than 400 million users. So if they use one of their models that we have, which allows travelers to do impact when they travel in exchange of rewards, then you could have millions of people doing things for impact. And if those tasks are really meaningful, if not, is not just greenwashing, it's not something to look good. If the task actually can solve the problem, then you have millions of people doing it. And that can happen while traveling, that can happen selling services online, and we have literally dozens of those. So that's just an example. So again, the whole idea that we have with the startup is that we just have a platform where you can decide where do you want to contribute based on your skills and your resources. So you can decide to work on the End Cancer Project, you can work in the Peace Project, you can work in the End Poverty Project. And there we're going to try to identify the most scalable solutions, the most meaningful tasks, the things that could perfectly well allow us to at least move forward in what we call this path of the solution between where we are at right now to the goal that we have, after reverse engineering what it would look like to actually go there. So to explain it better, because I'm not explaining it very well, I'm sorry, but the basic idea is that we are going to look for the key, I would say, milestones in collaboration with experts to see what is the best we could be doing, and then try to bring engineers, doctors, organizations of all kinds to say, okay, let's work on this. I don't know if you're familiar, I guess you are, with the X Prize and with projects that are crowdsourcing solutions. The difference that we have is that we want to allow people to participate, even if it's not in a startup competition kind of way. We want that to allow everyone to join and collaborate and get incentives to actually participate in those solutions.
So, and your first initiative will be around education, you said, and so this would be a public-private, movement platform. It sounds like there's some deliberate structure as far as milestones and finding that series of bridges coming from where we are now to where we can be, and then there was an opportunity for individuals to get involved. How will that actually look like? So, meaning if we're talking about education and there is a teacher or an education expert out there who would like to cooperate, or an educational organization or company, what would that feel like for them? So like engaging, and what would that journey look like, basically?
Great. So the project that we're launching is going to have two main parts. One is the improved education, which is what can we do to actually make education more effective and allow the universities and schools and everybody that is involved in the education delivery to provide better, more relevant, more practical education that can help people to actually access new markets and actually improve their lives and hopefully improve also the world. So that will be the improve the education part. And there's another where we're going to deliver education. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first one. What we're doing is we're going to do a new education labs initiative where we're going to bring experts from all sectors. It has to be multidisciplinary because not only experts in education know what needs to be done, but also you have experts in finance, in health, in all sectors. They have their vision of what could be improved in education. So the idea is that we bring together all these multidisciplinary experts. It's going to be more than 800 of them. We're going to create a laboratory where we can explore ideas. We can find the best practices, the best technologies, best methodologies, models, and the best systems that are right now working in the world. And it's not only about PISA. It's not only about how well you perform in the existing rankings. It's more about what are the methodologies that we could be using and the systems that probably can improve us to deal with the disruption that is coming. And after that, after curating that with our experts and our education commission, what we're going to do is create the new Education Reform Act, which is a proposal document with many, many innovations that could be implemented or independently or as a comprehensive strategy. Because what we see is that we are entering in a moment where there's a wave of new movements, and we have seen from climate change to Me Too to Black Lives Matter and others. And I am pretty sure, and this is my analysis, I may be wrong, that in the next 2-3 years, we're going to see a new education movement. I am pretty sure that there's going to be people who go into the streets because education is affecting us all. I mean, and the problem is not if we have or not schools and universities in place that they exist and they do a good job. The problem is that our education system is not ready for what's coming, that there's still more than 260 million people without access to education at all, and that we have, with the internet, all the content that we need available. So the problem is not can we know information or can we deliver information, it's more what is the new role of the teacher as a guide facilitator, what are the new skills that are needed, and how can we leverage technologies to improve that. So what we see is that there's people that go to university and they don't get a job. They do masters and still don't get a job. Some people just watch YouTube videos on entrepreneurship, or some people just decide to create their own project, or they decide to do more networking, and they have a way better life than people that have 2 master degrees. And so you have that the prices of many careers are going up while all the information is available for free or mostly for free. And those are two realities that are coexisting right now that is just simply not sustainable. And people are going to start, to protest about that. There's $1 trillion of debt in the US, and there's just a huge number of people advocating for reform already. And that has happened for a very long time. The question is how much longer can this last? Because the only institutions that have the capacity of deliver official certificates are universities and schools, but there's a lot of great educators that are already teaching millions of people. In fact, you see that some of the tutorials on YouTube of how to program in Python or how to use Excel have millions and millions of viewers. So of course, people have realized that there's very practical, useful training that is a non-official channel. But the question is, how much longer is the model going to last? So what we see is that because that movement is going to come at some point, and there's going to be a huge social pressure to politicians to change things, what we fear is that they're going to make rash decisions and they're just going to try to put patches on the problem, which is what normally happens because you have to look like you are solving the problem, and they may not have a comprehensive strategy. So what we're trying to do is try to create the best possible strategy that we can find and design with experts from all these countries. We have members in 140 countries already, and they are all going to participate. So the idea is that we have a cold-minded, how would you say, like a cold-blooded thoughts, kind of like strategy that they have, and they may not use it now, but at least when the pressure comes, they have a go-to strategy. So that's the ambition in the improve the education part. And on the other side, we have that we want to give people guidance on the skills that they need to learn, and we also want to give them as much content as possible that could help their lives to be better. And we focus on 3 areas, which is well-being, impact, and prosperity, because we think that everybody needs that, and many times we don't focus on that. So how to have a better mental health, physical health, how to be happier, how to be, how to have better control of your psychology and so on, how to make a bigger impact as an individual, how to become a human rights advocate, how to actually make change with your work, and lastly, how to actually prosper, how to make money, how to manage money. And those are things that normally are not taught in school or university. So that content, what we're going to do is we're going to create our own programs with our school. Plus, we're going to curate the best content that we can find, and we're going to use that package to distribute it for free through a global communication campaign that is going to reach more than 200 million people through celebrities, influencers, reality TV shows, events, and other channels, plus B2B collaborations. We're going to try to tell people not only that they should be aware of the changes that are coming and the things that they need to learn and how they could upskill in order to deal with these problems, but also to give them the content for free, the content that guides them to create a strategy for them. So we think that should be for free. And so we're going to give that as more than $5 million of scholarship value of our content. And it's going to just be available for everyone. We're going to try to make it also accessible for people, for example, in Africa, that in some places that they don't have internet. We're going to try to have them download the content and give it device to device, so we can also reach other areas. It's going to be different languages. So you asked about the engagement, right, with teachers and how to participate. So we have these 2 main branches: how to improve education and how to deliver more education. And we have designed our network and the WIA and the project in a way that everybody has a role. So a teacher can implement some of the solutions and some of the ideas that we provide. They can also give us ideas on what they think education should look like. They can tell us some of the problems that they stumble upon. If they are in a particular area, they can tell us if some of the reforms that we're proposing would fit or not that culture, if there would be some extra problem, what are the difficulties that they see. Not only that, we are going to launch several pilot programs with our ideas in order to make the case and make a stronger case that some of the solutions that we're proposing could have a massive impact and that are scalable and easily implementable. So those teachers or those schools or those what we call them like school ambassadors or university ambassadors, they're going to be able to implement those programs. So at the end of the day, they are actually implementing those solutions, and they are helping people with that, but also helping us make the case so we can better present our reforms to more than 100 governments and 1,000 education institutions.
That is a very comprehensive plan. Couple thoughts come to mind, because as you said, there's hunger and value for education, particularly people who don't have access to it, and there is almost an endless supply of content, and so that's actually not the problem. So what I'm curious about, and what I didn't hear, is societal value of education is, for me, sadly low, looking at how, at least in Western society, that we treat our teachers, and compensate our teachers, and torture our teachers a lot of the times. So I'm wondering, I believe there needs to be a shift in value of education. And then there's also a question around legacy, because you talked about accreditation and things like that there are legacy organizations that are perhaps not delighted to democratize access to education like you're talking about. So I'm wondering, how do you see the societal perspective on education and the value of education shifting, and how will this either defeat or collaborate with more legacy approaches?
Those are great questions and very difficult ones. I would say that we need to focus on what the purpose of education should be, which is to improve people's lives and to improve their capacity of making a positive contribution to society. Because otherwise, why would you be teaching kids if you don't want them to be valuable members of society? You're trying to give them an opportunity for success in the future, and you want them to not destroy the community, right? So the goal of education should be improving people's lives and improving or helping them to become more valuable, and not grades and tests and exams, right? That cannot be the definition of success of education. And the performance in that particular field cannot be the definition of what success looks like, or what a good person is, or even what intelligence means, or nothing like that. So we need to understand the importance of education, and also the goal of education, and something that is going to last forever. This is not just something that matters to kids and youths, and then when you reach when you start your career, then you don't need it anymore. The concept of lifelong learning is something that people confuse with doing a senior advanced program. That is not lifelong learning. Doing the third master degree is not lifelong learning. What it means is that no matter the point you are in your life, you are still incredibly ignorant, and you're still in incredible need of continuing to learn new things, because you can always be better. You should always strive to improve yourself. And also, you are going to compete with 8 billion people, right? So you need to really upskill constantly and adapt to the new changes, because you're going to have to be valuable and perceived as valuable. So it is not enough with what you used to learn in the schools. So we need to change the concept of education. The first thing is, education is improvement, and it's continuous improvement. And that radically changes everything. And that makes it for a way bigger market. But the problem is, the same way we used to pay for newspapers, and then with the internet made media be in a very, very difficult situation, because they already make everybody used to having free information. So suddenly it was commoditized. It was very difficult, right? And the same thing happens as well with, for example, education institutions. They also want to promote their content. So they give away lectures for free on YouTube and things like that. And at the same time, everybody has realized, in a world where attention is the main currency, that if you give content for free on social networks, and you give valuable content, what you're giving is actually education. If you give that kind of education and you provide value to your audience, you can grow and your business is going to be better and everything is going to be wonderful for you. So everybody, literally hundreds of millions of people are creating content, right? And so what happens with that is that if you want to compete in the education space as a legacy organization, and they have incredible faculties, incredible content, and they have done spectacular jobs, and I also am aware of a lot of the research that they do that is really, really valuable. So this is not against the legacy organizations, but what happened is that they are no longer the ones that had the content. Before you had the content between media and universities, but now everybody is doing great content. So if you want to charge $20,000 or $200,000 for your content, you're perfectly able to do that, but it has to be 10 or 100 times better than the content that is available for free. Otherwise, you can teach something else, or you can do something else. For example, you can provide consulting and guidance to your students. You can give them way more networking. You can make sure that you give them a job. And if that is the case, then I will be very happy to pay you $100,000 if I know I'm going to get a job that's going to pay that every year. But if you don't step up the game, if you just remain the way you've been, then you're delivering content that normally is not as updated and as quick as people that are creating that content on YouTube, for example. And the what determines the value of the content is it accurate or not? Of course, is it useful or not for the market? But also sometimes this content that some educators are creating online is even more engaging. It has better delivery. It is just fun to watch, and it's just in many ways not only is more updated, but also it could be considered as better. Let's say equally good. So the whole idea here is that I think legacy organizations like universities or schools, they should better leverage their resources. They have not only the brand and the faculty, they have these libraries of content, they have the network, they have the trust, they have the capacity of connecting with literally any organization in the world. So I think that is the main value that they have right now. So they can create new content, but also help every student with that. And then we improve education, and also they continue to thrive with their businesses.
I love it. I see it coming together. So what is the time frame? And so how and when is this going to happen? And for people that are interested in this education movement, how can they check in or contribute?
Thank you. So the plan that we have is the following. From now to June, we are talking to all our partners, and we are bringing in new members and new sponsors and partners from all sectors. Then in June, we're going to launch the labs. So we're going to do this event with more than 800 experts to look for the best impact innovation solutions and the best education solutions. From that moment on, we're going to curate the solutions, and we're going to create the new Education Reform Act. And from September on, so that's from September 2021 until December 2022, we're going to be advocating to governments and education institutions those solutions while we launch the pilot programs, while we launch the campaign of all the content that we want to deliver. And in order to join, we are going to launch a very big campaign to bring people in and to allow everyone to provide value, because we found that almost everybody that we talk to is really wanting to be a part of it. So we're going to allow everybody to join in different ways. So you can be either a volunteer, a member, if you go through the process, and you can become a member of the Alliance. We have ambassadors. We have collaboration with institutions of all kinds. So we definitely have a space for you. And the best way is going to be that, or they connect with me directly. I am available on LinkedIn. Or we have a link, which is wa.world/join, where they can just fill the form and let us know what they would like to do, what is the role that they would like to play. But for us, the most important thing is that we make it very clear that A, this needs to happen, but secondly, let us make it as easy as possible to help as many people as we can.
I love it. And yeah, so it's really at WIA.work. And then there's the join the alliance. And there's a form there that you can fulfill and to stay in touch. So you're going to need a lot of energy and a lot of people over the next 2 years. And so I'm happy to, as part of my lifelong learning, this is really part of my learning, meaning it's my joy of discovery and just joy of sharing and promoting. So this is where I'm getting inspired on the audacious goals of others, and like, maybe I should up my game. Maybe I can connect to this and help out in a small way as well. So, Carlos, thank you so much. There is a couple of websites that I can point people to, and it's on the show notes. So it's carlossentis.com. That's Sentis.com, and also, of course, the WIA.world for the World Innovation Alliance. And is there a way that, because I know they can sign up to be part of the alliance, is there a newsletter or some other form that they can join there, or is it best to follow you on LinkedIn? What's the best way to keep track?
Well, right now the best way is that they join with through the website, so WIA.world/join, and they will receive everything. But of course, we're going to be incredibly active on social media and so on. They can just check our name. But right now, I think the best is that they connect with us also on LinkedIn, because I will be very happy to at least try to help your audience. I am sure that there are all wonderful professionals that are also trying to make things better. And it's a matter of joining forces, right? And learning from each other and helping each other. So let's just connect however you want, and let's try to grow and make things better.
I love it. And moving forward, the general themes, and I've shared this on the podcast recently, the themes moving forward, of course, not exclusively, is environment, education, and entertainment. And I think a lot of those themes that I'm going to be focusing on here are just right in that sweet spot. So like you said in the beginning, that we have quite some overlap of our interests and passions. So Carlos, thank you so much for joining. This is an open invite. So you have some huge ambitions for the next, say, 2+ years. So when you reach a particular milestone, I'd love to have you back on and check in and let people know where they are and how they can contribute at that point as well. So Carlos, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chris. You're fantastic.
Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player, and download the Simplicity Kit from ebullient.com.